The vampire queen slashes her arm and lets the blood drip into a dying man's mouth. This single act will rewrite the fate of humanity. His body transforms violently within seconds. He no longer fears sunlight and can turn the living into thralls. He becomes the first super hybrid in a century. The irony, his forehead still bears the holy seal of an exorcist priest. The blade that once hunted vampires now serves the vampire queen as its savior. To launch a fatal strike against the holy city, he needs to lure away the priests trained to slaughter creatures like him. The method is simple. Grab the people they care about most. Years ago, Paul entrusted his wife and daughter to his brother when he joined the priesthood. Now this family of three sits at a dinner table that begins to tremble. The stepfather sets down his utensils and presses close to the window. Outside, a swarm of vampires closes in on the house. He bolts the steel door shut, pulls a weapon from the wall, and aims it at the only entrance. The mother throws open a trapdoor beneath the table and pushes her daughter Lucy into the cellar. She tells her not to come out no matter what she hears. Before the words even leave her mouth, the cross on the wall crashes to the floor. Then comes a burst of rapid gunfire, tangled with her parents' agonized screams. Lucy curls up in the darkness, barely daring to breathe. But all of this is just a trap set by Black Hat. He never wanted the couple dead. He wanted the trembling girl in the cellar. Long before any of this, the war between humans and vampires spanned nearly all of recorded history. From the age of cold steel to the dawn of nuclear weapons, neither side could wipe out the other, and the endless fighting reduced the earth to scorched wasteland. Then the church selected a group of gifted warriors from among humanity, carved holy crosses into their foreheads, and granted them extraordinary physical power. These hunters, known as priests, drove the vampires to the brink of extinction with their devastating combat abilities. The surviving creatures were locked away in quarantine zones under heavy guard, and the war between the two sides was declared over. But once peace arrived, the church's attitude shifted sharply. These former saviors became liabilities in the eyes of the leadership. The priesthood was forcibly disbanded. Their past glory earned them nothing but suspicion and cold stares. Paul was the strongest among them, and he has no idea his life is about to be torn apart. A man appears behind him without warning. Paul spins and pins him down, only to realize it is Hicks, the town sheriff. He brings bad news. Lucy has been taken by vampires. Paul rushes to the cathedral and kneels before the 5 monsignors, requesting the restoration of his exorcist status. The monsignors not only refuse to acknowledge that vampires still exist, they suspect Paul of trying to undermine the church's authority. The very next morning, guards are sent to intercept him in the square. He quietly releases the rosary from his hand and lets the beads scatter across the ground. The next second, he charges the guards, fists and feet flying, holding nothing back. These well-trained soldiers crumble like paper before him. The beads have not even hit the ground before the fight is over. Back at his quarters, Paul tears off his rough cloth robe, wraps his hands in bandages, and retrieves the exorcist relics sealed away for years. Under cover of darkness, he opens the warehouse and fires up his dust-covered ride, then speeds out into the wasteland beyond the city walls without looking back. Days later, he finally reaches his brother's home. He pushes open the door and finds him lying in bed, barely clinging to life. Paul grips his hand and silently swears to bring Lucy back. After burying his family, he takes out his bullets and carves cross patterns into each one. Every notch on those rounds is a mark of fury against the vampires. He reads the tracks left at the scene and determines the creatures retreated westward. He and Hicks soon arrive at the Nightshade Reservation. This place once held hundreds of vampire prisoners of war. Now it lies in ruin, with only a few dazed familiars wandering about. The two walk straight into the underground holding area. The moment the door opens, a wave of damp rot hits them. Every surface is coated in the slime-like secretions vampires leave behind. A long search turns up nothing, but in a dark corner they spot a familiar spying on them. Paul kicks the iron door open to interrogate him, but the familiar is raving mad, completely incoherent. Then from outside comes the piercing screech of metal dragging across the ground. More familiars close in from all sides, sickles in hand. Hicks snatches a sickle and hurls it backhand, striking the one charging at the front dead on. The two fight their way out of the cellar. Paul drops every familiar, blocking their path with a series of clean, brutal strikes. Only one remains half dead, slumped on the ground. Paul grabs him by the collar and demands to know where Lucy is. The answer is a glob of spit to the face, followed by a smug finger pointing at the sun sinking in the west. Paul knows exactly what that means. The moment the last sliver of light dips below the horizon, a dense chittering rises from deep underground. Vampires pour out of the earth, homing in on their prey with a bloodlust-sharpened precision. Facing this tidal wave of monsters, Paul grows still. He calmly pulls out his Bible and begins to pray. The instant the pages fan open, cross-shaped throwing stars hidden inside shoot outward. Silver arcs slice through the night sky. The first vampire lunging at him is split clean in two. Paul's hands blur as he launches star after star, each trajectory cutting into a vital point. Hicks refuses to fall behind, drawing his pistol and opening fire on the flank. But his lack of experience costs him. A creature tackles him to the ground. In that split second, Paul launches himself forward, kicks the monster off, and drags Hicks free from its claws. The remaining vampires watch their leaders fall one after another. They let out a frustrated shriek and scatter into the darkness. The familiar, abandoned by his masters, finally speaks out of desperation. The girl was taken west. But the moment the words leave his mouth, a black shape darts back from the shadows. Claws punch clean through the familiar's chest. Paul lunges at the fleeing creature. The two figures tangle together and plunge into the depths of the cellar. A moment later, only one climbs back out. Paul stares westward, his expression grim. 30 miles in that direction sits a massive hive. 10 years ago, he led a team deep inside it. That is also where he lost a teammate forever. Now, to save Lucy, he must return to that nightmare.